Hello everyone, I hope you're doing well and staying out of harm's way. Good to see you again. This is the chapter on propositional logic, which is chapter 6, and I want to go through assorted exercises from the revised syllabus that I sent you, 6.1 Roman numeral 1 sent through 6.1 Roman numeral 3. I will not do them exhaustively, I'll just pick out exercises here and there to get you in the swing of things. But the idea behind propositional logic is, just to give you a little preamble, is to have you deal with letters. Letters represent entire statements. So logic, toward the end of the 19th century, was converted to algebraic notation. And so we can take, for example, a statement like P and Q, and we can let P symbolize pints and Q symbolize quarts. In fact, that's how P's and Q's got started, apparently. That someone in a British pub, someone having a few drinks, was told to mind your pints and quarts, you're on an honor system. Keep count of how many drinks that you're consuming, and we'll put it on a tab. So it was kind of an honor system. But anyway, the idea of taking entire statements and representing them with a letter eliminates some of the ambiguity of language, and we can make things more mathematical and precise. So, the exercise 6.11 asks you to translate statements into symbolic form, and you can use your own letters in this case. Alright, so let's take the first one. Cartier does not make cheap watches. This is 6.1 number 1. Well, Cartier does not make cheap watches would just be not C. And you'll have to get to know your operators, but the little tilde or negation sign there means not, but not whatever follows. So not dark, or in this case, not Cartier does not make cheap watches. Number 2 there, you'll notice, says Arizona had a national park, but Nebraska does not. Well, here you'll have to have done a little reading prior to this. Arizona had a national park, we could just represent that with A, and but is like and however, if you read the pages prior, those connectives. So this would be A and not N. Arizona had a national park, but Nebraska does not. It's almost as if we were to say Arizona had a national park and Nebraska does not. Doesn't change the logical meaning, okay? Number 3. Either Stanford or Tulane has an architectural school. It doesn't say both those, but here we have the symbol, just like we introduced the dot last time for and we introduced the tilde for not. Here we introduced a wedge for or. So either Stanford or Tulane has an architectural school. So the V, or the wedge, means one or the other and maybe both. So if you look up the meaning of that operator, folks, it says this really means Stanford or Tulane has a architectural school, and maybe both do. So it's different from the either or that we see every day. It's going to rain or hail today, and someone might mean by that not both. That's not what we do in logic. If rain or hail today in logic means one or the other will be true. It will rain or it will hail, and maybe both. Okay, and so, number 4, both Harvard and Baylor have medical schools. 4 is Harvard, H for Harvard, and B for Baylor with a dot in between. They both have medical schools. If Chanel has a rosewood fragrance, and so does Lanvin. Okay, 5. If C, then L. Now we've got an if-then. The horseshoe there means if-then. So if it rains, the streets will get wet. We've seen these kinds of these forms of statements before, these if-thens, hypotheticals, so-called. So then if C, then L. Number 6, Chanel has a rosewood fragrance if Lanvin does. I like to say you have to read that from backwards to forward. If Lanvin does have the rosewood fragrance, if L, then C. Okay, that's number 6 there. Okay, so if L, then, okay, so notice where the if follows. So you're following, the sentence begins, the symbolizing of the sentence begins where the following the if. Maureen Dowd writes incisive editorials, if and only if Paul Krugman does. Well, if and only if is a biconditional, and you'll see a different symbol for the biconditional here. It'll be like this. 3 lines equivalent to. I don't have that on my typewriter, so I'm going to do something different than that just to get you used to what I'm going to have. But Maureen Dowd writes incisive editorials, if and only if Paul Krugman does, then that would be, what number is that now? Number 7. So Maureen Dowd if and only if Paul Krugman does would be, wait, okay, so, and, or if, you know, the way he's doing it here, but I'm going to have, instead of the triple bar, I'm going to have the wedge or the horseshoe going both ways, okay? Number 8, Reese Witherspoon wins Best Actor Award only if Martin Scorsese wins the Best Director. Well, only if doesn't change the order of things. If and only if, okay. So, Reese Witherspoon, only if Martin Scorsese, what was that? If Martin Scorsese wins Best Director. Okay. Okay, and number 9, Armani will launch a leather collection given that Gucci rejects skinny models. Well, if Gucci rejects skinny models, given that is like the previous one where you read it from the back forward, given that Gucci rejects skinny models, then what's the other part of Armani will launch this correction? G implies A. Okay, so now 6.6, Roman numeral 2. We're going to see, in this instance, given letters that they're providing, try to set up, try to do the problems. So this goes over to page 339. Unless we reduce the incidence of child abuse, future crime rates will increase. So in this case, it's unless we introduce, unless is like or. So child abuse, I guess he's got R for reduce. So this is now 6.1, Roman numeral 2. It'll be R or F, right? Unless we reduce the incidence of child abuse, future crime rates will increase. 2, if pharmaceutical makers could conceal test results, they are subject to substantial fines. P for pharmaceutical, S for substantial. So if P, then S is the case here, okay? 3, African safaris are amazing, but they're also expensive, which would be African safaris are, that's for A, and E for expensive, but is like and, so you treat those as equivalent. Cigarette manufacturers are neither honest nor socially responsible. Well, there's 2 ways you can do this. In this case, they're neither honest nor socially responsible. You can say, you have a choice, not H and not S, or since they are neither honest nor socially responsible, neither is not either. So think of it that way. It's not H or S, and you would take the negation through the or. The negation of or equals and then not H is not H, and not S is not S. So those 2 are equivalent by a process known as De Morgan's law, which we'll get to a bit later. But De Morgan's law says essentially that the negation of a disjunction is equal to a conjunction, and the negation of a conjunction is equal to a disjunction. So that's what's going on there. All right, so which one are we up to now? 5, psychologists and psychiatrists do not both prescribe antidepressant drugs. All right, so he's giving you O and I for some reason. Let's just follow suit. But negation, O and I. Negation, parentheses, O and I. Okay, in this case. All right, so it's saying that they don't both, do not both. If they both did, it would be O and I. And so the negation is to show they don't both. Just as in the previous case, you were told they are neither honest nor socially responsible. Neither means not both, not honest and not socially responsible. Okay. 6, if health maintenance organizations cut costs, then either preventive medicines emphasized that the quality of health care deteriorates. Well, if health care maintenance, because that's an H, then implies that this other disjunction here, P or Q, either preventive medicines emphasize the quality of health care. So P or Q. All right. I said that's all we would do in Roman numeral part 2. All right, let's try Roman numeral 3. Okay, well, here you're being asked what is a well-formed formula? And a well-formed formula means your operators are in the right place. Ands, horseshoe, or the implication symbol, so-called negation, triple bar, or biconditional, are they in the correct places? So and this is the bottom of 340. So Roman numeral 3 there, number 1, S and not T, or not U and W. Now, is that a well-formed formula? Yes, it is a well-formed formula. No mistakes. All the operators attached to some letter. It's clear where the operators govern, like the or, the major operator there. The or that's in the middle of the two parentheses says that one of those will be true or the other will be true, and perhaps both. So a well-formed formula. Number 2, if you read it through, negation, K or L, and then horseshoe, G or H. Now, this is not a well-formed formula. Why? Because we don't know what the implication symbol of the horseshoe applies to. Does it apply to the G or the H? We can't tell, so it's an ill-formed formula. 3, E not F. Again, we would need E not F. There would have to be an or, E and not F. We can't just go E not F in number 3. So again, not a well-formed formula. Number 4, B implies not T, biconditional not, and then negation C implies U. You have to kind of take your time with that, but everything's in place. The first operator, for example, that you come across is the horseshoe. That implies not T. Then there's a biconditional which says that the first formula will be equivalent to the latter formula. So that's a well-formed formula. 5, F is equivalent to not Q, and A implies E or T. Well, that's not a well-formed formula. Does A imply E, or does A imply E or T? It's not clear, so it's not a well-formed formula. Number 6, I said I think we'd only go to 6 or 8. I want to do them all. 6, not D or, not D or, and then negation brackets and then parentheses. Does that work? Yes, everything, it is a well-formed formula. Everything there is in its proper place. Number 7, you have a conditional statement inside brackets and then a disjunction. Is that a well-formed formula or not? It really is not. What is that dot doing there? Would it be better if we had A implies or A dot H, but A implies dot H, what is that doing there? If we just said A implies H, it would be a well-formed formula, but the dot is out of place, so it's not a well-formed formula. Number 8, M, and then it's like multiplication or something, it's going to be not a well-formed formula. There's no operator between M and the next parenthesis, so that is not good. That's not a well-formed formula. 9, negation, parentheses F or not G implies A, it looks pretty good. That is a well-formed formula. And number 10, R, triple bar, S and T. Now, that's already, we can tell it's ill-formed. Does the triple bar apply to the S only, or does it apply to the values of the S and T? So that is not a well-formed formula. So, I hope I didn't mistake any of those, but I think that they're all right. And that's all for today, 6 point. I'll give you more on Thursday if you follow along the exercises that I have here. This will be the third video I'm posting. If you haven't seen the other 2, they're on Venn diagrams and rules to check for validity. 5.11 and 5.12. 5.2 are on Venn diagrams, and 5.3 are on rules, which you should know as well. Okay, you have a good day.